Welcome back to Life Sciences. We're looking at the cell today, and in particular, we're focusing on the nucleus. Now, before the break, we looked at the structure of the nucleus, and we said that it had a nuclear membrane that compartmentalized it, kept it separate from the rest of the cell. It had a nucleolus, nucleoplasm, and tiny pores in the nuclear membrane, which would allow very small substances to leave the nucleus, but not the DNA. And that leaves us to focus on this chromatin network, which we said is the DNA. So what is chromatin network and what are chromosomes? Well, when you are doing some research from a book, you might have a book open in front of you and another book open, and all of this reference material is spread out around you. You very seldom go to one book, read it, close it, put it back on the shelf, use the next book. We like to have all our material out on the desk in front of us. In the same way, when your cell is undergoing its normal work, it has all the chromosomes open and readable. But when it is going to embark on cell division, when the cell is going to divide, then all of those books, all those chromosomes are tidied up, and we can see the individual structure of the chromosome. So when the chromosome is going to divide, when the cell is going to divide, the chromosomes look like this. They are very clear structures. When the cell is working, those chromosomes unravel a bit. They open up so that they can be read for the information that they have on them. And that's why we call it chromatin network. The chromosomes in your cell carry all the information, just like books in a library carry information. Each of the books in a library contains a little bit of different information. And just in the same way, each of your chromosomes contains a little bit of different information. So the information on chromosome number 1, for example, could contain information possibly about the color of your eyes, the shape of your eyes, and information about how to make some digestive enzymes, for example. The information on chromosome 2 might deal with your hair structure, and so on. Just like each book in a library contains different information. So if we have a look at this graphic, we can make a comparison and we can say a library has many different books with information. In the same way, a nucleus contains many different chromosomes, and each chromosome has a lot of different information. Let's have a look at what one chromosome looks like. Now you need to remember that this is a diagrammatic impression of what a chromosome looks like. The entire chromosome is made up of DNA, one long stretch of DNA. That individual chromosome is divided into many different genes. And you'll notice on this diagram that I've put it in glorious color, but in fact, each gene looks to the eye exactly the same as the gene next door to it. It's not different colors, but certainly every gene has a different length. And there's some space DNA between the genes. So it's very much like houses along a street. The houses look different, the houses are different sizes, and they have fences between them. And so your genes that are stretched out along the whole chromosome, some are large genes or very long genes, some are much shorter, and they have some space DNA in between them. What is important to remember is that each gene controls the production of one protein. Later on, when we look at how proteins are made, or the process of protein synthesis, you'll see that every gene controls one protein, the way that one protein is made. It's like looking at a recipe book. Each recipe produces one item of food. You have a recipe for a chocolate cake. One chocolate cake comes from that recipe. You have a recipe for how to make a certain chicken dinner, and that one dinner comes from that one recipe. So we've had a look at what the genes look like, that the genes are put together on the chromosome. We know that the chromosome, when it is working, is untangled and allowing for the genes to be read. And when the cell is about to divide, the genes pack up their work like you would pack up your books on your table. The chromosomes then neaten up into tightly condensed structures, and that's why we can see them under the microscope as individual chromosomes, but only once the cell is about to divide. Now, what are the functions of the nucleus? The nucleus has a number of different functions, and it's important that you're able to distinguish what these functions are. The function of anabolism is the whole set of processes that builds up molecules and substances in the cell. Catabolism is the whole set of processes that breaks down molecules and substances in the cell, and together we call those processes metabolism. And your DNA controls all of the chemical processes that take place in the cell. And very importantly, the DNA also controls the passing on of that information from you to your offspring. And in that way, we say that the DNA is involved with inheritance in the cell. We've covered the structures of the DNA and the nucleus today. In our next session, we're going to look at more information on how DNA replicates.